Yeah, True Blue is amazing. Like I'm so excited about it. I honestly can't believe it. It's been something I've worked on for the past decade, and I realize now how timely it is for it to launch, and I realize why it was delayed and there were all these setbacks along the years, because right now is the perfect time to lift our city up with this brand.
What's going on, Sarasota? Welcome back to episode number 73. As always, my name is Brad Hannon.
Felipe Colon.
And today we've got some amazing guests. We've got an amazing co-host and an amazing guest we'll introduce in a moment. But before we do, just want to highlight our sponsors. You know, we've been going through some crazy times with the hurricanes and whatnot, and it's an important time to shop local. So shout out to the sponsors behind this podcast: Tominator Law, Food and Beer, Tweed Suit Shop, and Capo Pazzo Pizza. If you need anything, shop local, go see those guys. And now let's get to the guest. But before we get to the guest, let's introduce our co-host today. Trey is on a roof, obviously.
It's always on a roof.
given the times. So we've got Cynthia McLaughlin from SPD, and who just made the 35 under 35 list.
Thank you.
So
That's
shout
so
out to
exciting.
you. Thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
I'm going to let you introduce our guest.
Yeah, so we've got a local business. I love that theme of you guys always bringing on local businesses. We've got Tatyana Stewart. She owns Georgiano's. She's going to talk a little bit today about a new luxury brand that she's bringing, which is super exciting. Sometimes, like, big events like these storms that we've dealing with kind of hurt our local economy, but it's nice to hear positive stories of success and resilience. So Tatyana, this is so fun to join you here today.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice to be on the other side of all of these events. So it's really great to be here.
Well, we want to dive right into the newest part of this venture, right? Because we kind of heard it on the pre-show, and I want you to talk a little bit more about it. But True Blue is your luxury surf brand that you're rolling out, or you've rolled out.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that and what inspired you to start this kind of cool and hip surf brand.
So, living in Sarasota is paradise. And I think there comes like a responsibility with living here. And this brand is to encapsulate living coastal and respecting that and honoring that despite not having consistent surf, we are a surf town. This was authentically a beach town.
Yeah, look at those waves.
Look at those waves. And we definitely had some probably 20-footers a few weeks ago. But, True Blue Vibes is, my legacy with my family, and it's representative of Sarasota. We want everyone in Sarasota to have pride in it, and it's to live authentic. That's the slogan.
Well, what better place to talk about a surf brand that represents Sarasota than on the Sarasota SpeaX podcast? So, we want to get a little bit more into that as well, but let's back up to the Georgiano's days. So I understand that your dad started this brand. You kind of grew up in fashion, so you've always been immersed in this culture. What has inspired you to stick with it? Because, Felipe, followed kind of in his dad's footsteps. Is that safe to say? Little bit, okay? He reinvented himself.
I appreciate what you're getting at, Brad. I would say it a little differently, but me and my dad, we would do work together, and that's fun sometimes.
So the point is, it's fun sometimes. He was my wife's favorite person at the wedding for sure. Actually, second to your mother. She really enjoyed her time with your mom.
They do enjoy a good celebration.
They did. They had a good time.
And that was Morgan and Trey's wedding. I don't know when this is going to air, but that was one heck of a celebration.
Yes, congratulations to Trey and Morgan on an amazing wedding. It was a great time. And not to get too far off track, but the point that I'm trying to make is that we don't always follow in our parents' footsteps, right? In fact, sometimes we want to do the exact opposite of whatever it was our parents were doing. So what inspired you to stick with fashion and, develop this passion?
So I think at the beginning, it was just what I knew, what I felt I owed him and the duty to that, because I lost him 20 years ago. So at that point, I was a junior in college, and I was like, well, do I go the extra year, or do I jump into this, figure it out? I knew the customer service side of it, always being, having grown up in the stores. Mm-hmm. And I decided, well, if I mess this up completely horribly, then I will be resilient. I'm young enough. I can go back to school. And so Sarasota was where I ended up. And we did like an online store to like offload inventory, and that evolved into parties that I would host. And it was like pre-Zappo days. So I took all this merchandise and created almost like a clearance website of luxury merchandise, and the women here were going bananas. So then I found my location.
This was all in Sarasota,
Yeah,
too?
it was in Sarasota. Well, it started in Raleigh, but then I had quickly come to Sarasota in '05. And then we did house parties, and then from there I saw the location where my store is on First Street. That building was relatively new. There was one vacant spot left. It was mine. It had never been built out. So in '06, I signed the lease, and I was like, what did I do?
Now you're in.
Now I was in. And, so long story short, I pursued this crazy idea. I said, it was worth the risk. And then later down the road, as I was cultivating True Blue vibes and I was journaling about everything that had led to that moment, I realized the reason why I kept T. Georgiano's going was because it was my way of keeping my dad's legacy alive, keeping him alive. And so, with that fashion, I love it. I mean, shoes, I love everything about it.
I think there's some women that can relate.
You have to be mad about what you do in order to survive the times when it's difficult.
Yeah, because you said 2005, so I'm thinking like recession, then obviously you still standing after the pandemic. Like that's a lot to overcome and still be thriving and growing.
Yeah, I mean, I think now, yes. And, there's been pockets of times where I feel like that's where our community shines. Like right now in the aftermath of these natural disasters and even through the recession and even through the pandemic, I would never choose to live anywhere else but here.
Agreed.
Because the community comes out so strong, and they realize that not a duty, but for me as a small business owner, like what I make, I have the luxury of being able to put back into the community, and so that's how it sort of circulates. And so I think our customer base knows it and loves it, and everyone's just like it's a great neighborhood.
But Cynthia made a good point, and I think you're selling yourself a little short there, because I started my business around the same time as you.
Okay.
Well, in my business. Yeah. I didn't start the business I have now. But we had to deal with sort of two events, right? We had to deal with the '08 crash, and then we recently had the pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people didn't make it through both.
No.
Right?
Mm-mm.
So
especially in retail.
Especially in retail. And I do remember I used to hear your name a lot in the early days, because I think you would do what these people call these trunk shows.
Yeah.
And that's what you were kind of known for.
Yeah.
And people would, like you said, that you would bring them these brands that they weren't accustomed to having here, and they would just go wild.
Yeah, they would. And I always joked, I felt like a glorified gypsy at the time, because I'd be like, okay, what's the next event? Where can I go support it? Whether it was back in the day, it was CPC, their Goddess Luncheon, and Wendy Resnick was amazing back then, and all the different women that have had these philanthropic endeavors have had these events or have hosted these parties and have supported it. But it definitely does. It's taken a lot of persistence, grit, and just perseverance to just continue it, because I had to reinvent it so many times based on what the economy wanted, what people were shopping for. And so I feel like sitting in a place of affordable luxury has always been a comfort zone, but it takes work.
We really kind of breezed over it, and it's important to touch on, because you were doing e-commerce basically before e-commerce was like a thing.
Yeah.
So I would guess maybe the need is what drove you that direction, but what was that it, or was it just like, was this something you always wanted to do when your dad had the store?
No.
Just take it online, or you just did what you had to do?
No, I did what I had to do, and I had a buddy who was a genius who went to New College, and there weren't Shopify templates back then.
Yeah.
He had to code my entire website.
Wow.
So it was an entire summer project. So we hosted trunk shows to have cash flow, and then coded the site so that was able to sell, and it did well enough. And so that led to that. But I mean, I don't think any of it was my plan.
Right.
It just, and obviously when we're busy making plans, God has a different one. So for me, I feel grateful that it has evolved in the manner that it has evolved in, and working with the different designers that I work with throughout, all over the world, from Portugal, from Italy, from Spain, Turkey, all these different countries, that alone distinguishes the exclusivity of what we get to offer. And so I think that's what people are drawn to.
Yeah, the uniqueness of it.
Yeah.
Something they're not going to find anywhere else. Yeah, uniqueness and quality.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the e-commerce and you said pre-Zappos,
It was.
I thought, wait a minute. I'm probably the only one
don't
that's
even know what
Zappos.
Zappos.
Do you know what Zappos is?
I do know what Zappos is. But
I'm shocked that people even know what that is.
I just remember the
anymore.
commercials.
That's so long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it still exists. I do
Does
think
It does still exist,
Yeah,
I think,
Amazon
but
bought it,
Amazon
actually.
Did they?
Yeah.
Makes
assumed
sense.
it. And that, that in of itself, I think, in terms of retail, was really challenging because Amazon really, it's beneficial to me as a person that's a mom and needs to get certain things, and that's the value of my time. But it does take away from consumer behavior, and they come in and, well, I can get that tomorrow. Or they'll come in and we'll have fitted them in a shoe, and then they'll go online and get it for less. Yeah, and you're like, oh no, that defeats
That's a good point. Yeah, I worked at a small retail shop in college and helped them get their e-commerce site up and running, and we did their social media and graphic design and stuff. But I can't tell you how many people would come in and place a custom order, and they'd go through all the selection of fonts, colors, thread count, whatever, and it's going to cost this much to ship. It's going to take a week, and they're done. Yeah. And it's like you just wasted an hour of an associate's time. But yeah, the convenience of Amazon really crushes these local businesses.
Yeah, it does. And I think right now, not to veer too far off, but I think right now is so important for everyone locally to support as much local businesses that are open as possible,
Or you can get gift cards. And
gift cards, yeah, amazing. They never expire.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Well, people love gift cards.
I know.
You know the statistic there, like 30% going used, something like that. But it's funny, we're talking about this because I was having this exact same discussion with a friend of mine this morning. I help her out with like handy stuff around her apartment. We live in the same building. And she brings me this thing, and she's like, yeah, I ordered this off Amazon. I'm like, this is not what you need at all. But I got it on Amazon. I'm like,
order a screwdriver.
You don't need this. You need what you need. You already had. You just ordered something online. We order things online. We don't even look at the pricing. Well, your pricing is probably more competitive than some of the products online.
It is a lot of times.
But people just don't think to look.
Yeah, but they, the thing I think with small business, especially at T. Georgiano's is, there has to be a level of some added on cost for the service, for the immediate satisfaction, for the fit. And so people are okay with paying service fees at hotels, resorts, the water at the airport being 20, I'm just exaggerating.
Or going out to eat, right?
But if they come into the store and they're like, oh, but I saw it online for $10 less. And we're like, I know, but
you didn't know it existed before you came in the store.
Yeah, I really wish that there could be a podcast about that alone, just, consumer behavior and trust. But I think what we really have built in at the store is sincere trust, and, people come in and know they get styled with authenticity, and they know that I've scoured and curated these collections to suit their lifestyle here, because living in Florida, we have such temperamental weather. It's like cool in the morning. It's like so hot mid-afternoon, and then
when is it cool in the morning?
Sometimes I don't know. I guess we wake up early. I wake up early with kids.
Maybe the last week, like you said.
Yeah, I wake up earlier.
The weather at Trey and Morgan's wedding, ideal, right? But you don't get many of those days. Yeah. So you answered my question. I was going to say, how have you overcome some of those challenges? It sounds like customer service and the overall just approach that you take with your clientele of like styling them, and that's a real value add. There's no men's shopping there, correct?
Well, True Blue Vibes will be for the whole family.
I was going to ask that.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So, but for someone like Felipe's a well-dressed, person.
Don't
right?
Dapper.
Myself, I wouldn't say that I have the fashionista in me. So I appreciate going to a Tweeds or going to, a True Blue and, saying, hey, what would you recommend? You know what I mean? Like you go to a restaurant, you're like, what's your favorite thing on the menu?
And you want to make sure that whomever is at those places is going to authentically, help you so that you go out leaving confident. Because I always tell our ladies, I promise we're going to be honest with you, because if you look bad, we look bad. Because then you're a walking. Yeah.
People ask you where you got that, and it doesn't look right.
And you're not going to have repeat consumer behavior if they're not happy with their purchase long term. So, yeah.
You use one key word that I use a lot when I talk about consumer products recently, and that's curated.
Yeah.
Curation is very valuable. I mean, there's a million different products, and especially now with manufacturing all over the globe, and these places where they're doing the manufacturing is now starting to get into design as well.
Yeah.
There's just so much competition, and how would somebody who values their time and is not, like you said, a fashionista, know what works for them, their body type, their lifestyle, and is on trend, right?
Yeah.
If that's what they want to do, which I usually don't. But
yeah, I mean, for me too, I think it's, styling people in the fashion industry, you have completely different sectors. You have you want to be able to, the person that's styling them has a level of intuition, or familiarity with the person and their lifestyle. And especially here, we've got snowbirds, or we have people that are constantly traveling. So you have to be able to be versatile and cater to them in that way. So, for us, I know I curate for our ladies, and for for me, for many reasons, I try to have it be sort of a year-round collection with some occasional stuff that, maybe like a cool, like heavier coat at one time, but generally
Not
speaking,
too many of those, though.
not too many.
Yeah.
No. So you try to not play it safe, but, Florida living is about layering. And that's really what it's at, You can go to dinner, maybe you're at work in your suit jacket, but at dinner you're going to take that jacket off maybe and be a little bit more casual. No, he doesn't.
Always.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. So I think it just depends.
Most guys do, though. You're right.
Yes, they do. Or they unbutton it, as Donald at Tweets would tell us. Yeah.
Just pop a couple buttons down. You're good to go.
3-button rule.
The styling process, right? Like I guess the demographic of women that are coming to see you for T. Georgiano's, not necessarily True Blue yet, but T. Georgiano's, describe the demographic. Is it a wide range? Is it kind of niche? Is it like?
I mean, I think in general you can look at Sarasota, and I'm not going to say ages.
I was about to say, when I talk about this, I'm going to put my foot in my mouth. So
we're not going to say ages.
Leave it to the professional.
I call it ageless because we have super agers here, people that are extremely active that.
Super agers.
Super agers, I know. It is, because they age well. They were living longer. And, a majority of them are either retired or, whatever their circumstances. They have a lifestyle that really surrounds around activity. We live, by the bayfront. People are always outside walking, going to the different workout studios that we have downtown. So, I mean, we're styling for different people. Some are a little bit edgier, and it doesn't matter what their age is. I have some women that might be, more mature than others, and they'd rather a bodycon dress, whereas someone might want more of a bohemian dress, and they could be in their 20s. So we have a broad range, and it's just being ready to cater to them at that time. And, for Sarasota, we're so generational that I have the whole family shops with us. The mother, the grandmother, the baby on the way. Occasionally we'll have some pieces. So brands always try to ask, so what's your target market? And I'm like, women? It's really all ages. And men occasionally will shop for the women too in their lives.
That's
and we
something,
help them.
Yeah, that I thought of when I went in yesterday. Yeah. I was like, this is a great spot for like gift giving, because there's so many like accessories. Like, I mean, you can shop for shoes or purse or jewelry for anybody, but there's so many cute little like personality pieces.
Yeah, we help
and cards.
Together.
I think
girls like cute cards.
Yeah, she is. She's been a hint out there.
Shop for me there.
Cards,
Georgiano's.
like greeting cards, like
there's engagement cards. Like they're super cute right at the cash register.
So basically, you made it very difficult for us as men to screw up if we go there.
Yeah, literally.
Well, that's where that customer
covered.
service comes in. I feel like that's when I really rely on retail associates, is if I'm shopping for somebody else. I know what I want, but if I'm shopping for a friend, I'm like, this is my price range. Like, who better than the person who spends hours on end stocking the store?
Yeah. It's true. And with the curating, the biggest thing of that is I personally do my research with a lot of the brands, and I make sure, a lot of it's fair trade, it's ethical, it's not, because fashion in general right now is so mass produced and there's so much toxicity within that realm. But for us, I want it to last. There's nothing worse than when you buy something and it's falling apart and you paid a good amount for it. So ethically sourced, a lot of fair trade. I work directly with most of the designers, even if it's a big brand. I do really cool things with them. So people love that, and that's part of the draw.
What role do you play in the design process with the designer? Are you making edits to their design, like helping them with edits? Or you're that involved? Okay.
Shoes, yes. Shoes, I will, just because I've been doing this since I was 3. I'm not kidding. I can show you proof.
On dolls.
At shoe shows with my dad, and literally.
So he was a shoe guy?
He was a shoe guy.
That's
the old shoe dog.
One of my friends designed shoes. Yeah. And he went to some special school in Italy and the whole 9 yards. I feel like they're kind of a different breed in the fashion world.
It's kind of, I don't think it's a dying breed, but I think
I said different. I didn't say that.
No, but I'm saying in my head, I'm thinking it could potentially be, but you don't often see younger people in the industry unless they're in sneaker world, which that's a whole nother topic. but I think, I work with them from the beginning. So they'll have samples and samples come out and then you see those samples and then they go, okay, not all of those samples are going to make it into production, but then I'll sit with swatches and I'll try them on as a female in my size and I'll go, okay, that's hitting the wrong pitch. That's not comfortable. It's not going to be stable. The ladies aren't. So very involved with some brands, whereas some I'm like, okay, that's perfect. Order that just like anyone would normally. So you kind of have both, and then
but you're well experienced in the shoe part of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Shoe confident.
Can we talk about the characters for like True Blue?
Yeah, we can get into those if you're ready.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I wanted to the importance of T. Georgiano's is I literally picture it like your dad passed away, you're in college, and you're trying to keep a heartbeat for this business. You're trying to keep this business going, and you've done that successfully for 20 years, right? And I imagine many of those years, and she started very young, guys.
Yeah, I was.
3 years old in shoes. She was like 15 when she took over the business, and now she's 35.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Soon to be on the 35 under 35, right? But that had to be, the 20 years is. You made it, you survived, but there was some years where you were probably just surviving, and you didn't get to think about what's my legacy going to be, what's my passion, what's my you're in it, and so now I see True Blue from my perspective as this business that has come from a bit of freedom in building T. Georgiano's to where it has, and so that's always fun, that's always exciting. So yes, absolutely, let's dive into True Blue.
Yeah, True Blue is amazing. Like I'm so excited about it. I honestly can't believe it. It's been something I've worked on for the past decade, and I realize now how timely it is for it to launch, and I realize why it was delayed, and there were all these setbacks along the years, because right now is the perfect time to lift our city up with this brand. And with the kids, my kids inspire me so much because they remind you about, they're 7 and 9, Byron and Paloma.
Oh, love that.
They're awesome. And so they are a huge inspiration behind all of this. And they've taught me, kids are just, even through all this stuff, they're so resilient. They're so open and imaginative. And so as a creative person, that's just like a refresh button. So, so it's been amazing. So True Blue is got a series of characters, my Vibe Tribe. And I'm going to introduce all of them little by little. But our first main guy is Mac, who is in honor of my dad. And my goal is to do the launch on November 13th. So save the date will go out soon. Yeah, that's his birthday. And I just think it's going to be amazing. And a lot of the characters are going to be relatable to adults and to kids both. There's an element of mindfulness, and there's merchandise. I worked with a lot of different artisans all over the world to create some really special pieces that represent all of Sarasota.
Okay.
The flag, which is the main icon, is representative of a sunset. And so I worked really hard to get all of those guys trademarked, registered, and they're ready.
What role do the actual do the characters play? Is this like a styling role? Is this just a fun?
So they each have a different representation. So there are 3 females who I imagine are my archetypes, and every woman will relate to 1-2 of them, and that will be their go-to character. Okay. And then the animals are their sidekicks, who are the alter ego aspect of them. They're full bios, there's full character descriptions. Right now I'm wearing, this is Bandito. He's my cheeky tiger, and that's Casbah.
And I saw the little, baby onesies and stuff you have. So stuff for everyone.
Stuff for everyone. I mean, stuff for everyone, and it'll evolve. There's a book that is also going to be a big part of the release, and a lot of amazing short films and interviews that I had done with local people over the time. Stuff that got dissipated in the storm is we have beautiful footage of it, not knowing that would be it. So,
hey, we're having a blast here getting to know Tatyana Stewart and more about True Blue. If you want to get to know her a little bit more, stay tuned for rapid fire questions fueled by food and beer.
I'm Tatyana Stewart from T. Georgiano's and True Blue Vibes, and this is Rapid Fire.
10 random questions, 10 specific answers, nothing off limits. This is Rapid Fire, fueled by food and beer. What's your favorite TV show?
Seinfeld. I mean, that's the one.
This is going to be the new look for the 90s. You're going to be the first pirate. But I don't want to be a pirate.
Southpaw, other paw, or faux paw?
I'm ambidextrous.
Do you ever find yourself using both hands for writing, eating, or playing the musical instrument? If so, you may be one of the few people who are considered to be ambidextrous.
You're obviously really successful, but where was your first job?
My first job was working in my dad's shoe store.
Whether it's Creed or Debbie Gibson, what's your favorite karaoke song?
Give me one. I don't know. Sure, Sweet Caroline. I literally don't karaoke.
You're going to a Halloween party. What are you dressing up as?
Mummy.
What's your craziest impulse buy? Mine was a restaurant.
I mean, the craziest impulse thing, when I bought my Coachella ticket in 2010.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. One of them's got to go. Which one is it?
I mean, I don't use X or TikTok, so TikTok.
Better Batman? Michael Keaton, Christian Bale, or that one guy, Ben Affleck?
Ooh, Christian Bale.
I'm Batman.
Have you ever been mistaken for a celebrity? Like Joey Fatone?
Yeah, I have, but I don't agree with it. Eva Longoria.
After, of course, eating food and beer, where's the first place you would take visitors in Sarasota besides the beach?
Besides the beach, I would say to go to Ringling Museum.
So I think that's one of the biggest pros of talking about like shopping local, because we're understanding the thought process that goes into these products. And when you're not to dog on Shein or, mass produce pieces that, as we mentioned earlier, fall apart after one wash, even if you air dry it, every single piece in a whole line like that takes years as you've worked on this.
Yeah, it is. And I, through the course of searching for different places where I would manufacture and then battle testing the product to know that myself, that, okay, if this is me, this is going to be representative of something that I'm proud of that we're producing. I want to make sure it's great. So I have a buddy who lives in Ecuador, and I had surf towels made that, all these different companies have it where the sand falls off, and I had him take it to Ecuador, and he battle tested it on his safaris, and that's what he calls them. And he's like, this is the best towel I've ever had. And I'm laughing, and just little details, like it has an elastic to hang it, so when you're just getting ready to do stuff, you can let it dry. I met this amazing couple in Australia that lives on all solar panels on their property, and they manufactured these fire clay mugs that I have made, and any of just beautiful clay vases and stuff that you guys will see soon. That was amazing.
I feel like we're getting a sneak peek though.
Yeah,
I like this.
Yeah.
I like how she's saying it's so nonchalant. She's tested all of these products globally.
It's taken a long
Australia and Ecuador.
Been in Ecuador.
I know, it's wild to me that it's finally now the pieces are falling together from all this work, from all this time, because it's the right time. That's really the only way that it makes sense. We had women in Bali that sewn these beautiful blankets that people can either frame or use over a couch or lay down. And so there's going to obviously be stuff like I'm wearing, the regular, your go grab merch, but then there's going to be artisanal pieces that have more of a backstory. Mac, the character, the main guy, the plushie is here, and so he will be the first release. And so, yeah, that's going to be exciting. He's my surfer guy.
Yeah, so I love that you've taken this new branch of your brand, and it's still reminiscent of your father. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, the store between T. Georgiano's and True Blue Vibes, the best way I can describe it is it's a tale of two sisters, and one is now adult enough, can drive, and gone autopilot. Well, this is the new baby, and this is the new energy that is just what I think I always had hoped for. When you travel, we always want to take back a piece of where we go. We always want a souvenir. Hats, obviously hats. We got the best hats. But you want to take a piece of it. But I just didn't want something that was you looked, what's the right word? It wasn't quality or something you would say, let me wear that out to dinner, or let me roll with that where I'm going, and not think that I bought it at the gas station.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just
Doesn't
that
just
kind of
say Sarasota
souvenir.
on the front of it.
Yeah. And
Siesta Key.
yeah, it's like more upgraded. And again, not that there's anything wrong with that merchandise, but I wanted it to be elevated so that.
Where does the name come from?
Okay, so it's an Aussie term for no BS, but so that's where Live Authentic is the slogan, and that's why, you know, for everyone to come together. We're all sun worshipers, whether we admit it or not, and everyone is drawn to the water. And for me, it's just, you know, you can look at the sunset and you can just tell, like, that's just everything about nature and how we need to be connected to it, but modernizing it with quality goods. So it's like a foot in both worlds.
Where did the idea for characters? So like we've got a million brands, surf brands, you know, you name it.
Yeah.
I've never heard of another brand that has multiple characters that depict like a personality type. Like this is very unique, seemingly. Did you? You're not going to tell us where you stole it from. If you stole it, where did the idea?
No, I really didn't.
I'm not saying you stole
really
it, but where did
didn't.
the idea come from? It's very out of the
I
box,
know.
and I'm trying to get in your head and understand how you like put all this together. Or I mean, and you could also just say, well, it's 10 years in the making, or you know, whatever.
I just always like, for me, for a brand, I feel like in order to connect with children and connect with everyone with nostalgia, it's always drawn to a character. A character can embody so much, and you have such a broad range of characters. So at the beginning, I always like thought the archetypes, the females, were important. So because of that, they came to be. So I've got the hula babe, I've got my sailor, and then I've got my spiritual sort of Mother Earth, you know, archetype. And then each of the sidekicks. So we've got a flamingo, we've got a tiger, and we've got Mac, who my son tells me is like a hybrid of a tiger and a lion. So he is his own thing. I mean a gator, sorry, not a lion.
I was going to say that would be a
Tiger,
liger,
yeah,
right?
sorry, not a liger. Yeah, so something like that. And it just happened. I mean, it came to, it was just, I don't know, creativity, drawing out stuff, thinking of, you know, crocodiles are important in the Middle East and Egypt. My father was Egyptian, so that's kind of where he stemmed from. I'm very spiritual and love nature and surf, so that infused one. And then friends influenced me with other characters. Because the flamingo, she's like a graffiti artist DJ. They're amazing. No, it's like really going to be amazing. I hope that they become a movie and a game and everything one day.
Feel free to cut me off if I'm completely off base, and I mean that. But so much of fashion is aspirational, right?
Yeah.
We don't seek to buy the clothes that really are indicative of what we actually use the clothes for every day.
Yeah.
We usually buy a vibe,
Yes.
or something that we aspire to, or something that we just like and enjoy.
Yeah.
Right? So I would think what you did with coming up with these characters is you took that experience and you made it more explicit.
Yes.
You know, people can go ahead and they can buy this outfit that Mac likes to wear, or you know what I mean, the tiger. Or they can really jump into that.
You nailed it.
I think it's pretty genius, actually.
Thank you.
So,
Well, it's, you
and
know,
I'm not just saying that. I
well,
just
thanks.
it's
It
really
took
cool.
a village of a lot of, you know, different creative people who all will be, you know, honored when we launch, and because that's the biggest part of this brand is collaboration. You know, I didn't do this alone. I maybe thought of it, my crazy ideas, but I can't do animation, so I had to find amazing people that were talented to help me put it together. But I think in the end, we all want to be a part of something. You know, there's people that are so drawn to Disney. I don't even know what their revenues are and what that culture is, but I grew up watching Disney. My kids love Disney. And in the end, I think you just want to be a part of a community, a part of a vibe. And this is the vibe that I had not seen a niche for. That's my vibe. That's our vibe. That's Sarasota. That's all water people, you know? So
Related to that, tell us, you mentioned that this is the right time, and you've repeated that several times in this conversation. Elaborate more on that, and maybe does that have to do with the right time for you, the right time for this type of brand, the right time for Sarasota to be in the spotlight like this in a brand? Like,
all of the above. You know, I mean, for me, had I had it my way, I think it would have launched years ago, pre-pandemic. That really put a halt on.
That would have been great for you, huh?
Yeah, right.
Good thing it didn't.
I'm grateful. Like, it was a blessing in disguise, and I think that everyone, everywhere, anywhere you are right now needs a dose of positivity, and I want to always infuse positivity on social media. If I have an audience, that's what I want to cultivate is the positive culture, a happy culture, because so much of it isn't. And I'm not being realistic about the world and living in a fantasy world, but
Of course.
right?
But I think I get what you mean. Like, everybody can relate to, like, the beach vibe. Everybody can relate to a great sunset. I mean, it's pretty damn universal.
It is.
So,
it is.
If anybody doesn't enjoy that, that's fine. Don't come here.
It is. It's just...
You have a great time.
It's an energy that I think everyone needs a little bit of back to nature. I'm not saying go out and, everyone has to hug a tree, but I think that
might be good for
might be good for us, for the ones that are still standing.
Take your shoes and socks off. Yeah.
But
wasn't Felipe barefoot at the wedding at some point, or wasn't there some grounding going on
at the wedding?
Oh no, that was at the golf course. That was where you do the grounding.
Yeah.
See, it's
hot
good
out
for
there,
everyone.
man.
Yeah. No, but I mean, you said it beautifully. I mean, that really is a summarization of what it is and what the intention is for it. And it's to just, I want people to be happy. I want them to feel like they're part of something and be connected. And if this is a great anchor for that, then so be it.
You've mentioned a couple of times the launch of this, and November 13th being the first character launch. Is that what it is?
Well, it's going to be the brand hard launch, the website.
Okay.
All of the product will be on there. Everyone can see everything, the short films.
So at that point in time, so November 13th, a lot of this stuff rolls out.
Yeah.
Can it be bought now?
I mean, people keep trying to come in and sneak into the back room, and I'm like, not yet. So, I mean, maybe, but I really want to hold off for November 13th to make it just this beautiful, like,
celebration of your dad.
Yeah.
What do you have planned for that?
So,
what's the launch look like?
Right now, it looks like it's going to be at the store, because where else could it be? And maybe even make it a block party with our neighbors to some degree, because I just want everyone to be a part of it. That's as far as it really looks like. I mean, all the merchandise will be there. So pre-pandemic, I had taken what was my office in my store, blew it out, and now it's the shop. So I have a shop of my store. So it's like you walk into that world.
Right.
And so all of that merchandise is beautifully going to be set, and people can come in and enjoy themselves.
And you're also releasing a book on that same date?
Yeah, so the book, and
Do you sleep?
Yes.
We haven't even gotten to the philanthropy stuff yet.
God, I know.
Or the creative director stuff yet.
Yeah, the book will be released at the same time. I think that's really that's the everything. That's the why.
Tells the story, or?
It's not an autobiography. It's how so through the pandemic, through all the difficult things that we all went through as a city, and as a business owner, I just started journaling. I started writing, and then I started sharing it, and that's really what grew my viewership, and why I have a bigger following on social media was because people were just like, I needed to read this.
You were showing your personal journal online.
Yeah, but not like, hey, today it was more just how I dealt with grief, how I dealt with loss.
The big picture thoughts.
Yeah, just big picture thoughts. And I just shared it, and it grew and it grew. And then I started doing videos, and then I did some community stuff. And so, again, it's been like ongoing. I know I'm being like super passive, but it's been a long time. But it grew. So then I finally thought, well, can we compile this and make a book out of it?
Why not just combine everything? And
I had the perfect friend of mine. She was a beautiful editor and writer, and again, got placed in my life at the right time. And together we put it all together. And it's a compilation of all of these writings, and you can open it at any page that you need for that day. And there's a workbook that goes with it. Cool. So I initially hope to launch it as a bundle. And then if they want to buy the plushie, they can.
The plushie, I'm assuming, is like a stuffed animal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the stuffy.
You got to have the plushie, too.
Yeah, he's awesome. I have him, on my shelf.
So you've worked on this for 10 years, you said, right? You've had to keep a lot of this stuff pretty close to the vest.
Kind of vault. I mean, literally, I'm I feel like a crazy lady holding it all. I'm
for the people that have seen it and kind of get a glimpse of the vision, have they ever made any comparisons to any other brands?
No. I haven't said, okay, this reminds me of that. They've just said, it just makes me feel good. I've had people that have even teared up, because there's a short film it's like a minute and a half that goes with the book that a friend of mine shot that took 4 of us creatives. It's awesome. And so you'll be able to see that soon too. And so, yeah.
Well, I'm getting excited. And by the time this comes out, we'll probably have just a couple of weeks until November 13th. So if you're out there and you're wondering and you're inspired by this like I am, I mean, first of all, it looks cool, right? It's a great story, but it also is some cool looking stuff. And it definitely fits the Sarasota vibe, as you said, you know. So November 13th, T. Georgiano's downtown. We'll get the times and all that stuff out there. By the time we post this, you'll have more of those details, and we'll be able to share that as well. So super excited. We would be remiss, though, if we didn't talk about a lot of the community service, you know, philanthropic type stuff you've done. It's going to be hard to imagine you did anything else but this in T. Georgiano's for the last while. But how the heck did you make time for it? And, you know, why?
I mean,
I think the more important question is why.
Why not is probably me. I don't know. I have a lot of energy, but I think, you know, I love connecting people, and I think that's my gift is if, you know, I can connect with people, they trust me, then it's my duty. You know, it's my duty here in this lifetime to do that. Sarasota's been amazing to me. It's, you know, it's home, and no matter what. And the philanthropic efforts here have been amazing because they've supported me. You know, the ballet has been an amazing partner that I've worked with over the years. Back in the day, we used to do a tow fund for them to afford their ballet shoes. So their donors and sustainers would come in and shop with us, and that would draw beautiful campaigns and photo shoots that we do. So it's all about collaborating. So I feel like philanthropy and retail have a really synergistic relationship that lifts everybody up for, you know,
yeah, you're getting eyeballs. They're getting some money donated back. It's a great win-win.
Yeah, and then this, you know, speaking of, you know, I've done so many different things with the Animal Rescue Coalition and back in the day Junior League and Designing Daughters with, you know, the list is endless. But what's really important right now is women in philanthropy. And we were on, you know, Catherine and Margaret were on, the founders of that recently, and they've been incredible mentors. And, you know, watching them through their careers and life experiences and here in Sarasota for 40 years, it's been incredible to serve as their creative director, to bring to life their branding. And while doing all this. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how. I just do it. Do it.
You got any more time? Because I need a creative director. I wrote down over here signature Medicare characters. Like we could build like the archetypes of our senior clients. You know, we've got like the forgetful ones. We've got and I'm like, it'd be cool pieces.
A lot of work for a training manual.
You got some.
Well, the grannies are an important part of the characters always.
There you go.
You've got such a positive spirit, and you exude gratitude. You can tell it the way you're talking about your brand and everything you've done since you've been here. And I find it fascinating because sometimes you talk to people that have been here multiple decades, and they're a little, you know, they don't love the growth that's been here. You know, I remember when nobody was at Lido or there wasn't traffic over the bridge. And
I could find a parking space.
Yeah, we hear it all. But, you know, you're thriving and flourishing because of the growth that's come down here. So somebody that's late to the party, I only moved here several years ago, but, you know, I love this community because of people like you.
Thank you. I mean, I think where you put your energy, that's what grows. And if there's more vibrancy and more people that are, you know, there's always going to be a balance, right? A tug of war between the city
sustainable
involved.
Growth,
Yeah. And I think Mother Nature just told us, you know, a little bit of where we maybe should draw the line on stuff. But I think, you know, we have to accept change. We have to accept growth if this is where you want to be. And you get to choose it, right? You get to choose every day. You know, do you want to focus on what's not working or what you can fix? And so obviously we grow and we mature over the years. So my 21-year-old self might not have said this. I might have been like, what? But I think, it's your mindset. And so I think we need to just focus on that.
I find it interesting that you're from New York. So Capo Pazzo, Melissa, she's from New York as well. I think he's even Queens as well.
They're from Queens.
Oh my goodness. And we
love
that
we
place.
Got like all these Queens people, but it was funny that Melissa was on the podcast with Chief Trochet and Eric the other day. She said, you know, she's only been here for 3 or 4 years. I don't know how long, but let's call it 5 years.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, honestly, I loved this place before, but the way this community comes together after these, you know, disastrous events, like I'll never leave this place. And then you said something similar, and we've all experienced something similar. So it's like, well, if you want the growth to stop, let's stop being such great people in a great community. Like, what are you going to do? You know, like, hey, let's make this place less great to live. You know, like, of course, the beaches draw people in, but I'm being serious. Like, what what more do you want than people to want to live where you live, right? Like
It's
we
flattering.
say, like we live where you vacation. I say that all through high school. You know, we'd be on the beach and spring break. We live where you vacation. You know, but like no, we live where you want to live, and probably will someday. We'll make some room, but you know, you said it best with, you know, talking about the fact that the community essentially coming together is what makes this community great and gives this, you know, brand and other brands like it the vibe that they have. So I love it, and I love that you're, you know, so involved in the community. It's inspiring to me. I think Felipe, I can speak for you, but the podcast itself has been that for me. So Sarasota Speaks has been that for me. Like when I say Felipe, I can speak for him because I'm talking for the podcast. Like we've had guests on, we've had tons of people like yourself on that are so involved, and it does light a fire under you to, you know, to take this podcast or this platform or whatever platform it is you have and be able to spread that positive message. So we're very pro growth on this podcast, and that's why we asked this question. That Cynthia, are you able to handle this question?
Oh my goodness. I cover my ears.
I'll do the intro for you. Tominator Law wants to know.
All right.
How do you feel about roundabouts, Tatyana?
I love them. You know, they're efficient. And I just like to keep moving, even if maybe I'm not going far.
We're rolling
like
on this, right? Can the police department share this as well?
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, for me, it's straightforward. It's efficient. And
well, it's actually not at all straightforward. It's
round. Well, you know what I mean? I mean, like, I know how
Nothing
to stay. I know you stay right.
That was good,
You stay
wasn't
right. Nothing is.
Jesus.
No, I love them. I think
Is a
they're
dad
great.
joke or what?
I love them.
Not bad, Dad.
Yes.
I always reiterate that when the power goes out and the traffic signals don't work, they work.
Listen,
and that
they do.
I think we can, over the past month, appreciate
We just
that.
saw a lot of
Yeah.
that.
No,
I mean,
I like them.
Driving the day or two after the storm, it's like I wish they were all roundabouts. You know,
In Europe,
like the
that's what
four-way
it's
stops
like.
were
It's
rough.
kind of scary a couple
Yeah,
days
Those
driving after
intersections
the
with the
storm.
lights, you didn't always know if the other people knew it was supposed to be
No,
a
they
four-way
don't.
stop.
No.
And then once they get there, they don't know how to use the
Or
four-way
what
stop.
was what was worse, the yellow blinking lights. So
Yeah.
it's safe to assume that they had the red.
Yeah.
So the
you think.
yellow traffic continues, the red.
She's like, no, not really.
I'm playing like chicken run the whole time. I'm like, I know that they're not stopping. You can just
Well,
tell they're coming in really
Yeah.
hot. And you're
No,
like,
and people were just at like mindset. We're tired. We're you know you don't know what their level
Oh, look,
of
there
loss
she goes
was.
with the graciousness again.
It's beautiful.
yeah,
Look
but-
at our city. Look at our
I know
beautiful
those
city.
people don't know how to use the four-way, but you got to just be nice to them because they're tired. And she's so
I
sweet.
love it. I'm all for it.
As Brett mentioned, this is a fun question, but it's really a proxy to ask about growth. And not to get too granular, but, you know, he says we're pro-growth. I don't like to use that term because some people misconstrue that as being on one
Blow the
side or
city
the
up.
other. Yeah, but I mean, let's face it, some of the happiest and healthiest places on this planet and most prosperous are also the most densely populated,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like growth and prosperity and health are mutually exclusive.
No,
You know,
I
that
agree.
gets lost in the conversation a lot of the time.
I just think it's added pressure for our city, you know, the ones that are in charge with the infrastructure, just to be better and, you know, think of every angle for everything. You know, obviously drainage is an issue here.
Right. Yeah, and we got to
you know,
think
things like that.
We got to think ahead
Yeah.
more than a few years.
Well, it's different.
right?
This is
You know?
think different. You know, this is for engineers, architects. This is like new. This is a new.
You'll have to watch the episode we did with Eric and Chief
Yeah.
Trochet because Chief made a great recommendation on like, you know, the retail
businesses,
stores on St.
yeah.
Armand's be built like a shower, you know, with Durarock up the wall quite a ways and like a drain in the floor, and it's like simple common sense
grab
things
a
like
pen.
that make a lot of sense.
as long as it can drain there, you know.
Correct.
Yeah, it's like, where does it go?
We're gonna have to. It's gonna be an interesting supply thing.
Considering your brand,
Yeah.
True Blue, and all that's gone into that, and that beautiful image you had of your children on the beach
Yeah.
there, we'd have to also ask you about Midnight Pass. So I'm sure you
Oh, yeah.
heard some things, or
Yeah.
maybe you have some anecdotes.
Pretty
You've
cool.
been out there before?
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I think it's, again, I think, you know, without sounding too like woo-woo, like in Mother Nature. I mean, it's certain areas are supposed to be formed in the way that they are. And I think that was one that should be left the way that
Mother Nature spoke on that one.
Yeah. I truly believe that. And I think it's supposed to be open.
Amen. We're going to do a whole episode on that.
Well, did you see Greg Stubbe?
I was going to say that the congressman is listening to, you know, what the people are saying. And I think that's great that we do have our
see that.
stakeholders at the national level they're really rooted here. And I've worked all over the country in news, and I can tell you in some other states, politicians aren't as in touch with the communities they represent as they are
Yeah.
here.
No.
That's a good point. I also wanted to point out Stubbe's thing because I looked at that Facebook post this morning, And some people were not as flattering in their commentary because they said, well, why weren't you involved before? There was a very good reason he wasn't involved before. There was nothing he could do.
Right.
But now that it is open, there are things that he can actually do.
What about, right, a podcast at Midnight Pass on the beach with our tent and table?
You got to talk to technical about that.
How about on a pontoon boat
can
in
do it.
the pass? Bigger.
How about on an airplane flying over a helicopter?
Sponsor that. You guys can wear True Blue Vibes.
Deal.
All right, you don't have to tell us
amazing.
twice.
We'll just go out there and pretend to film it for the free clothes. It was a great episode, but lost the footage. Sorry.
Soundbite gone.
So with as many people as you know in this community and as involved as you've been over the last however long you've been here, you did say it, but it just couldn't have been that long. I'm going to pass it over to Felipe.
We like to end every
final
we
question.
like to end every episode on the same question. You've been on Sarasota SpeaX podcast. You see what we do here. I hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed having you.
Yeah, that's great.
So our question for you is: who do you know? Who Sarasota needs to know? Who we may not know? Who can we invite on Sarasota?
You can phone a
SpeaX?
friend because I've been thinking
Yeah.
about this too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to defer to Cynthia to
Okay.
suggest her friend because you have had so many of my dear friends on, and she gets the opportunity. So
You don't
I
have
want
more friends than the 3 we've had on?
No, I've had a lot, but Cynthia was excited, and I want to support other
Absolutely.
Listen,
Yeah,
as
business
long as we
owners.
get
So
as
I'm
long
gonna
as we get a
pass
fresh
it
body.
on.
Yeah,
we're
so-
By the
into
way,
it.
Cynthia, great fill-in for Trey. Like,
Yes.
phenomenal
No,
pickup
phenomenal.
here.
In my past life, I was really involved in the fashion industry. So when Eric reached out, I was like, "This is perfect."
I'm being my ambassador now. I'm going to be our
Perfect.
teacher.
See, things that are meant to be will just be, right?
Before you give us your pick, could you
Yeah.
also just give us a brief of what the public information officer does? Because I don't think
Yeah.
brief.
Share your
as to
little-
what the
share
is there no brief way to do that?
So kind of how I explained to it, my friends that aren't, in government or media, it's a little bit of everything. It's crisis comms, it's strategic communications, PR, content creation. It's almost like I am a brand ambassador for the police department. Because you talk to an officer, they're really humble. They'll save 10 lives, and they're like, "I'm just doing my job." And you're like, "No, you're a hero." And so when
Literally.
we come in as a civilian and we see them from like a people like perspective rather than somebody that's a sworn officer, I feel like we get to brag and we're like their cheerleading team. But it's also, we play around, like have fun a little bit with our content when it's appropriate to do so. And we just surpassed 100,000 followers on our Facebook page, which is huge. And it's not really about numbers, but when we have storms like this, and
you're reaching people.
You're reaching people, and you can look at the breakdown, and a lot of it is people here in the community or people that are part-timers here. So as long as we're getting that information out when it's needed, that's what I'm passionate about. That's why I've done news, and then just kind of I saw the storytelling opportunity that I'm really passionate about at the police department, so that's kind of why I made the switch to the other side.
Would it be fair to say that you're helping to drive the narrative in a way that allows you all to do your jobs better?
Absolutely,
And that's
educating,
why you gotta
like
take
we
some
talked
time.
about the traffic signals. I think every single day during Milton, a little bit during Helene, we're pushing those graphics. This is what you do during when the lights are out or dangling or facing the wrong way. Trying to educate, letting people know that, whether it's amplifying the county's emergency messaging, you need to evacuate, just making sure people
and
know
I
that
think that's
stuff.
especially important today because I know a lot of people don't have TV, they stream, but they're definitely on the social media all the time. So
Well,
that's
it's a
almost become
24-hour news
replacement.
cycle.
Yeah.
So you have to be there. You have to be in the palm of their hands and shout your messaging out. But
Well, you're doing a great job of it. So.
thanks so
Very
much.
cool.
Yeah.
So back to the recommendations.
This is actually coming
you
out
get
right
the
after we did the other episode where we, found out that everybody basically evacuated. There was no fatalities in the city of
Yeah.
Sarasota. There was no rescues. Was that correct?
Yeah,
too?
so
No-
we went
zero
from like
rescues, so-
500 in Debbie to 3 during Helene to 0 during Milton.
So it's working.
Yeah, people got the message.
That's
just
what
good.
We always say that you can't show what crimes are prevented, but I think that kind of does display that, our messaging works. And
I think it matters when you have local, reliable source that hopefully isn't biased, that has, the local, local is different, so that way for us, especially when bridges were closed, I live on a barrier island, so we wanted to know, okay, can we get back to check our house now?
Yeah.
And you guys were definitely the source for that.
Yeah.
No, you weren't looking to the Tampa news station to figure out
I
what was
was
going on.
right.
Well, you see these national people,
Yeah.
you know, from the Jim Cantori to even beyond, they come down here and they don't understand where our problematic areas are because they haven't been here. So we always try to put our local journalists first because we know that that's somebody you should be trusting. It's exciting to see Fox Weather down here, you know, the big
Not
leagues.
that exciting.
Yeah.
I don't
They
love
can
that.
stay
I don't
home.
find it exciting.
They can stay wherever they're recording.
Wherever Jim Cantor shows up, you really got to be worried. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want
Yeah.
to see that guy.
Yeah, so.
All right. Well.
Oh, the pick.
With that,
Yeah,
Oh my
you get
goodness.
the pick.
Let's get to the much
So I've
awaited
actually
pick.
talked to the owner of Ride downtown. It's a new cycle studio. I say new. They just celebrated a year anniversary. She is a Sarasota native, went to Cardinal Mooney growing up, and you leave like on such a high. The second to last song is always meditative. She gives like a little speech to kind of get you going. But I mean, during the storm, when they didn't have any damage during Milton, despite being downtown, she opened up like showers in the studio to people that needed it. I mean, she just has the biggest heart, and you can tell she's actually a Lululemon ambassador now too. And
What's her name?
Ariana Olivo.
And she's right around the corner from T. Georgiano.
Yes.
Look at that.
So,
Keeping it down.
work
I
out
could already
nice
see
job.
that being like
Right?
she lifts up people locally all the time. We did a hurricane
ride
relief
class.
ride on Monday where she took donations and donated directly to Red Cross. One of the other cycle instructors lost their home on Siesta Key during Helene. So she's always quick with helping others. And so if I can help her, I mean, she's just a really resilient woman.
Awesome.
Let's
Great.
help
We'll
her.
get her on. Absolutely. Well, Tatyana, thank you so much. We are excited for True Blue, November 13th on your dad's birthday. So
Yes.
we're very excited, and you guys should come check it out. True Blue. You're on 2nd Street, right?
First.
Your actual First
First.
Street. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on 2nd Street.
Yeah, between Whole Foods
on
and
First
Starbucks.
Street, between Whole Foods and Starbucks.
Yeah.
There we
How
go.
about that?
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Guys,
Thank you so much.
Thank
Enjoyed
you.
it.
Oh, so nice to meet you. I'm gonna have to get.
And thanks to Cynthia for hosting too.
Yeah, she's a rad host.
And thanks for Cynthia hosting.
For all your roofing needs, it better be strong.
Whether it's residential or commercial, it better be strong. From leak repairs to full roof replacements, it better be strong.
Use code ABC7 to receive a free solar attic fan with any full roof replacement.